and give me a few seconds. And I'm going to admit everybody. And we should be live.
Good evening. I'd like to call the regular council meeting for January the 12th to order at 7 p.m. Are there any late items? Hearing that there's no late items, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda for January the 12th, regular council meeting?
Councillor Hay, so moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We don't have any delegations. So we're on to public comment.
Okay, I am sitting in for Nikki and Leslie this evening. The public are invited to comment on matters pertaining to the agenda for up to 2 minutes. Public are requested to state their name, address, and the specific agenda item they are addressing. If I could get folks to raise their hand if they would like to make a public comment, please. You can do that by clicking on reactions at the bottom of your screen and then clicking on the raise hand button. Is there anyone? Okay, I see Denise O'Connor. I'm just getting my timer here. And Denise, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and you have 2 minutes once you unmute. Go ahead.
Oh, hi. Good evening. My name is Denise O'Connor, formerly of 522 Fraser Street, Lytton, and tonight I'm going to speak to agenda item number 5.1. I want to apologize to the mayor and council for calling out and interrupting during the special council meeting last week. Not to make excuses, but I didn't realize my mic was on. While Rob Bernhardt was talking about rebuilding of homes, I called out in frustration. I said, I'm homeless. Please let me explain. Thankfully, I have a place to live. I have a roof over my head, but my home is sitting in a pile of ash. I'm homeless, as are others living in motels and finding rentals all over BC. I was intrigued how Rob described the homes: comfortable, energy efficient, designed to keep out summer heat, silent ventilation with fresh air all the time. He said we should simply decide what you want, talk to designers and builders. While he was saying that, it hit me. He was speaking like he knew nothing at all about our reality. All of his examples were of people or corporations that were not homeless when they decided to build. I believe most of them were living a comfortable life. I'm sure they had financial plans. I'm sure they had done research and taken time to build what they wanted. No one mandated them to build like that. They had a choice. Bylaw 750 doesn't give us a choice. I still do not understand where the push came from for introducing bylaw 750, but had John Horgan not come out and said Lytton would be a model community for the world to look to, had you not taken that bylaw off the shelf in Vancouver, tweaked it as though it were written for Lytton, and then threw it back at us with no consultation, we would not have wasted 6 months. I have not even spoken to my insurance provider about my rebuild because we've been held hostage by this bylaw. Again, I apologize for interrupting Rob's presentation. I'm still homeless, no farther ahead with planning for my home than I was 6 months.
Your time is expired.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment? I see Ernie Wagner. His hand is up. Ernie, I will ask you to unmute now, and you will have 2 minutes. I'll remind you at 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Yes, okay, this is Ernie Wagner. and I used to be a resident of Lytton for many years, and I know most of you. And first of all, I want to commend the mayor and council for sticking with your jobs, the very frustrating jobs. I'm frustrated by not having the money or the authority to clean up the town. Now, yesterday, I checked on the internet to see if there was even a tender and bid for the cleanup, and I didn't see anyone. So I phoned a company, Clearview Demolition. They do a lot of big work, and it just happens the supervisor is a band member at Lytton. So I got a lot of good information from them, and they are used to doing these cleanups. It's no big deal. We don't have to treat Lytton like Chernobyl. They get in there, they know what they're doing. Their operators are trained to look for artifacts. They get in there, and like I said last week, get this stuff loaded on the train and get it out of there so people can start building. So the government's got to take this in hand and not leave it to the insurance companies who are squabbling a bunch about themselves there and who should do this and do that. They got to get in there, do the cleanup, and then send the bill to the insurance companies. Get this done. I think the government needs to be put on notice that I think someone should go to the media. This went right across Canada and also internationally, how that the government was going to just build Lytton up again. So far, 6 months.
Mr. Wagner, your time has now expired.
Okay, so far they haven't done anything, and I think it's time that you go to the media and play the before Lytton when it was burnt down, and then the after, what it still looks like.
Sorry, Mr. Wagner, your time has now expired.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Thank you, everyone.
So the next agenda item is adoption of the minutes of the special council meeting that was held on January 5th. Are there any corrections to that agenda?
Counselor Hay,
Councilor Hay?
page 7 of 42. 22-005. Should have read, moved by Counselor Hay, seconded by Counselor Gray. The council resolved to accept the donation from St. Bartholomew's Healthcare Auxiliary and agree to honor the conditions and take the gaining interest over should be the term to pay for the financial administration.
Yeah. Are there any other corrections? Hearing none, can I get a motion to adopt the minutes of the special council meeting?
I'll
Counselor
motion.
Hay, I'll make. Go ahead, Lillian,
I'll motion
as amended.
As amended.
as
yes.
amended. Yes.
Counselor Hay, second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we are now on to business arising from the minutes. The unfinished business will be the election procedures bylaw 708. And that the election procedure bylaw number 708, 2022 be introduced and to be read for the first time. Is there any comment? Can I get a motion?
Counselor Hay, motion made.
I'll second.
Is there any comment on this procedure bylaw? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to read the election procedure bylaw number 708 for a second and third reading?
I'll motion.
Counselor Hay, I'll second the motion.
Is there any comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we're now on to the building bylaw updates, and I'll turn the floor over to the Director of Development, Ron Dickinson.
Your worship, thank you. We're still working on the updates. I don't have anything final to report as far as changes go. We're investigating some of the options, and probably going to cost them out in the next few weeks to find out what it will actually cost to create the regulations and strategies that are laid out in the bylaw.
Thank you. So we're on to staff reports. The Chief Administrative Officer is away today. Is anyone speaking to you?
I do have a recovery plan update that I'm preparing for tomorrow's community town hall meeting. If it's okay with the mayor and council, I'd like to defer it to the town hall meeting tomorrow night.
Thank you. So then we are on to the water and sewer fees and charges bylaw amendment. And that is that council directs staff to prepare a bylaw amendment to bylaw 696, 2018 fees and charges bylaw specific to the Schedule D water rates and Schedule E sewer rates. And that the bylaw reflect the increase to water of 4% and sewer 2% rates as outlined in the staff report attached presented on February the 4th, 2021.
Counselor Hay, I move the council direct staff to prepare a bylaw amendment to bylaw 696, 2018 fees and charges bylaw specific to Schedule D water rates and Schedule E sewer rates, and that the bylaw reflect the increase in the water 4% and the sewer 2.5% rates as outlined in the staff report attached, presented on February 24th, 2021.
Do I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
So we are then on to the public works. I don't believe. Okay, and that's the archaeological alteration permit. That council directs staff to investigate the advantages and implications of the village holding the archaeological branch site alteration permit required to preserve archaeological material during the demolition, site remediation, and rebuilding in the state of local emergency area in Lytton. Would the Director of Development, Mr. Dickinson, like to speak to this?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, this is the result of the report is a result of a lot of considerations by the archaeological branch and the site monitors and Village of Lytton staff to try and determine how best to get a permit issued for each of the sites in the state of local emergency area that are going to be subject to all this work, the rebuilding, the cleaning of the land, the demolition. And what we need to do is, like the archaeological branch, there's a requirement in law that there's a permit issued to do that kind of work that disturbs the soil on any site, especially, particularly the Village of Lytton site. So what the branch has decided, rather than each individual person applying for a permit for each lot, which would be hundreds of applications, that they are willing to issue one permit for the entire site, which will economize how we do everything. It'll make the actual investigation simpler because it won't be boundary by boundary in small areas. It'll be across the whole site, which is how it was used. And that's how the material that we may find there would be, it will just be found in various areas. It won't be related to the property lines. So it will simplify that. It will make it less expensive for property owners because each property owner won't have to get each property owner won't have to get a permit themselves. And it will make the monitoring a lot more logical and progressive through the project. So what the branch has said to us is that in order to issue that permit that way, they need a political body to hold the permit. They can't issue the permit to themselves, and they can't issue it to anybody else that isn't a public body. So what I said is that I would make this suggestion to council for their consideration. And what I'm suggesting tonight is that that we simply, if you see fit, to send us off to discover what all the financial and legal implications are. It's going to take a little bit of research. Bonnie Campbell from the archaeological branch has offered to set up a few meetings with various groups within the provincial government in order to arrange this. So what I'm looking for tonight is whether or not there's an appetite on council's part to pursue this any further.
I believe the council is highly motivated to get this process moving. And my question to you was going to be, will this permitting process, how do you say that, delay the removal of debris once the conditions are such that we can actually remove the debris?
Well, no, I don't believe it will, because what I believe it will do is actually make it easier to remove the debris, because as individual permits for every lot would have to be looked at separately and decided upon separately, whereas this will allow the whole site to be looked at in one review. So once that review is done, the permit will be, well, once the permit's issued, the review is done, the work will be done, and the monitoring will be done all together in a consecutive approach to the outcome. So it won't add any more restrictions. It won't remove restrictions. It'll just simplify how the process will be dealt with.
Thank you. Mr. Matusi?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, as part of the discussion that Mr. Dickinson had with Owen Collins and myself with the branch and the industry and a number of people, there's a heritage committee that actually deals with it. What this will do is expedite by having one overall permit and not having to take out a permit, or the alternative is each person went, if you went to an area that was sensitive, you'd have to take out a permit, and that permit could take months. Whereas now we're going to get the permit in place for an overall umbrella. There's no financial implications for the village over and above as one of the requirements when we said we take this over. We're not not paying for anyone else. The permit is in our name. We would be responsible for the remediation, the permit, the subset of permits that would be required for any assets that the village owns. So if we rebuilt the fire hall or something, that would be a separate permit. So really what this does is expedites the whole overall process for everyone by having that in place. And what the branch is prepared to do as well is set up a system whereby when someone wants to commence work, so if the snow removed and trucks were rolling, if someone wanted to clean debris from a particular site, then their contractor would be in touch with the branch, tell them what they want to do, the nature of the debris removal, is it digging, is it surface, and that would be rapidly assessed. And in some cases, that would be it. They could go and remove the debris. In some cases, it may require monitoring, and in some cases, if it's a very sensitive area, may require more extensive work. But this has been put in place, taken a bit of time, but I think it'll expedite things once we start rolling.
Thank you. Are there any
Mayor, if I
further
may?
questions?
Yeah, I
Go
do.
ahead.
If we have this under a single permit and it's listed as a single site and something is discovered, are they going to halt the entire site? Or will they use some logic and apply it to that simply the area where something was found?
Mr. Matussi?
Yeah, thank you. And Mr. Dickinson can supplement if I leave anything out. No, Councillor, each site would still be undertaken on its own in terms of determining what it needs. But what would it mean is if something significant was found, there already is in place a permit. And so now it would just be, how do you remediate it? How do you deal with that? And that's where we think over the long run, having a single overall permit will speed things up. If we didn't do this, then each person may have to take out their own permit, and each permit could in and of itself take months. So yeah, this should speed things up. If something is found in a particular area, that area would have to be remediated depending on the nature of what was found, but it wouldn't impact any other area.
Thank you.
Okay.
Would someone like to make the motion that council directs? Was that you, Lillian?
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
Counselor Hay, second the motion.
Is there any further discussion?
I didn't hear what the motion actually was.
That council directs staff.
Oh, I see. My apologies.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. We have done the election procedure bylaw number 70822. So we'll move on to correspondence. There is the Northern Development Economic Capacity Building project funding. We had applied to the Northern Development Initiative Trust, for a $50,000 economic development officer. And I believe that the job was posted. So I guess we are looking for a motion that council accepts the funding provided by the Northern Development Initiative Trust.
I'll motion that council accepts the funding.
Counselor Hay, second the motion.
Is there any further discussion?
Counselor Hay, I'm a bit, I guess, confused. I gotta use that word. The 50,000 in 2021, if I go back in my memory when I attended the chamber meetings and that, when we talked that the money that they put in for it had to be done, I believe, and please do not hold me this, at the end of February. The village had not put in for it. But then when, I think it was Miss Anderson was there as the CA all the time, when that money did come, they got an extension. That extension would have ran out on the 31st of December of this past year, 2021. My concern is that the motion reads that the funding's been provided. And I just want to be assured that it's there before we put out and hire somebody for $50,000 we don't have.
I can speak to that. Okay. So I know that $50,000 was allocated in 2021. An additional $50,000 is allocated for the 2022 calendar year.
Thank you.
So would someone like to make the motion? Oh, the motion is made. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The other piece of incoming correspondence is that the Kanaka Bar is putting on a entrepreneurial potential entrepreneurial program. And Chief Michelle has invited anyone in the area to join that's interested in starting a business. And he has provided us with some literature. And I would suggest that we put the literature on our website so people can read it and determine whether they wish to take part or not. So do we need a motion to put it on the website? No. So then the direction to staff is to put the literature onto the website. So we're on to reports from mayor and councilors, and I would like to start. I was contacted last week about the Hell or High Water fundraiser. And what it is, it's a group that is putting on a fundraiser, and Lytton will be included in it. And they're looking for people's personal stories. And they're also looking to see if we have any entertainers that would like to entertain. I reached out to the mayor, or to the former mayor, and she put a couple of suggestions forward. And I just wanted the people to know, and if they have any suggestions, to email the village. The next thing that we're looking to do is to draft a communication strategy here. That'll just be a rough strategy, or to be brought back to the public, is just to create one for a starting point. And I believe that the staff will be speaking with Lytton Net and about that. I had a builder who's interested in building in Lytton, and he wanted to meet me, and I told him that isn't the way it's done. A builder would have to meet the entire council and the public. So I would like to know if council would like to meet this builder. He's out of Hope, and he has a team that he wanted to introduce to the council, and hopefully the entire, the townsfolk as well at the next council meeting.
Motion.
Yes.
Councillor Hay, I'll make a motion that council invite the said builder to the next meeting to appear as a delegation.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I also spoke with the Fraser Basin Council about their role in facilitating the planning process. And from what I understand, they are very, very close to signing an agreement. I spoke with our project manager, and I understand that an office lease for the mill site is very close to being signed. And I am also looking for someone from the village to join the health planning table. This is a group that is looking at the rebuild of the health site and what services that it's going to provide. LFN has a number of people in place as the temporary health site at 2 Mile, is supposed to be up and running. So if you have any interest in joining the Lytton Health Planning Table Group, please get a hold of the village. And that's my report. Councillor Hay.
Thank you. Councillor Hay, lots of contact with residents over the ensuing time since the 15th of December. Answered a lot of questions were required and provided support where required. That's my report. Thank you.
Councillor Gray.
I don't have so much of a report as a request that council reconsider initiating the integrated design project to bring in someone who can help us do a public engagement for planning. We seem to be doing a lot of bits and pieces of things, and I really think that we could be doing more things at the same time instead of waiting for the province to give us money, waiting for them to answer questions, waiting for them to give us permits, waiting for them to bless us and whatever else we need from them. It's getting very frustrating, and I know that the residents are very, very frustrated. And if we could initiate something that could get people seeing how the town is going to be rebuilt, we can get GOBC in on it so that they can do a virtual version of it so that people can see it. If we could start working on that now, instead of waiting 3 or 4 or 5, 6 months, or not doing it at all, I think it would help people a lot. I'd really like council to reconsider that. That's it.
Is there any questions?
Councillor Hay, Councillor Gray, are you looking for a motion to get staff to investigate this and report back to us?
Well, I mean, there's not a lot to investigate. We have people who will do it. We just need to offer them a letter of intent or do a direct award. I mean, we can do it. We can do it now and get it started. It's just council has to agree to it. So yes, if you would like to make the motion to do a letter of intent or a direct award, I'm happy with that.
Councillor Hay, again, what I see the problem is letters of intent that something like this is going to have to go to some sort of tender. We can't just be picking this person to do that, picking that person to do this, because we're talking about spending government money and taxpayers' money in it. That's what I like to do. I do not mind putting a motion on to get staff to investigate it and come back with a report.
Sorry, I have a rambunctious dog here who has decided that now is the time to play. Actually, because of the time frame that we're looking at and because of the disaster scope, we can actually do a direct award. I did look into this. I am happy to have staff look into it as well. I can give them the information, but I really think that if we do this, this is going to help move our residents forward in their planning and being able to talk to their insurance companies and get things happening for them, even before we get the permits and the building bylaw in place. The stuff that we can talk about doesn't require those to be ready. We can get the theories and the ideas out and get working on them. How does that sound?
My concern stays the same. Okay, so I'm not being facetious when I say this, okay, because I think you put a lot of work into things. Why can't I name the person then? Why can't somebody else name? I think there's a due process that has to happen, and I realize you want to get things going rather quickly, but we could certainly get bogged down on legal stuff if we get somebody in to do this and we haven't followed the same process. And that, to me, the process, we find that out from our staff. They're the people that are experts in this area.
Mr. Matusi?
All right,
Yeah.
well, I'm happy to have the staff look at it. And if we wanted to have Don Lidstone come in and weigh in on it next week, that would be, or next meeting, I should say, that would be great too.
Your worship, I just have a question in terms of the scope of, what you want done. You talked about the integrated design workshop, which I believe at the time we were talking about was more around design, home design, building design. But you've also mentioned now, the planning type workshop. And so for me, it doesn't really matter which one council does or if they're combined, but are you referring specifically to the design workshop for housing or more of a broader workshop for community planning?
Well, we can certainly start with a broader aspect and narrow it down. I mean, there's no reason that we can't do both. We can all walk and chew gum. So, I mean, we can plan for the town and the residents can figure out how they want their homes to look. I think we're making this too difficult. We're making it too hard, and it's not hard. It's simple. We just need to take it all together, get everybody working together, talking together, and figuring this out instead of trying to do it piecemeal. It's not working piecemeal. Look at this. We're bogged down now again with archaeology. Shh, buddy. We have to take into account that there are people who they want to get back home. I want to get back home. So we need to do something to start moving that forward. And if it's a general overall planning, that will work too. Then we can narrow it down to design, but we need to move forward on something.
Recovery director?
Absolutely. I absolutely hear the desire of residents to get back and get back quickly. Regardless of whatever approach we use, we are still bound by provincial legislation. Both the Heritage Management Act, the Environmental Protection Act, the Community Charter, and other legislation, the Emergency Program Act as well. So I think that our project manager has already conducted a number of planning meetings, and he's laid out a very detailed schedule, scope, and budget for the debris removal process that incorporates all of the legislative requirements and the infrastructure rebuild also that incorporates all of that scope, schedule, and budget. So a lot of the planning is underway. And at the community town hall meeting tomorrow night, he's going to be going into what has been done so far and sort of some estimated timelines. But, like I say, regardless of whatever approach we use, the village of Lytton is still bound by all of that provincial legislation, and it has to be done one way or another.
I understand that the provincial legislation has to be done, but what I'm getting tired of hearing is that we always have to take it a little bit at a time. We don't. This is getting ridiculous. We don't have to keep slowing everything down because the province wants to take 6 months to think about a thought. And I get that there are laws in place, and I understand that we have to adhere to them. And I get that the community charter has us bound in many, many ways. But that does not mean that we cannot talk to our residents and get them involved in planning how the town is going to look. This does not require any laws. It just requires talking to them. How is this a problem?
Councillor Gray, I believe that the Fraser Basin Council will be facilitating getting a whole number of people together to, you know, to rebuild the community.
The Fraser Basin Council, we have been waiting months for them to do something on. And we got them to do the short-term recovery plan, and they were supposed to do grant writing. Then they're not doing grant writing. And now they get their contract has to be looked at again so that they'll do the midterm and long-term. Like, this is just becoming insane in how complicated it's getting. And I think that we're letting it get that way. The province keeps telling us that we're the ones who are making these decisions, and yet we're constantly looking at them and saying, well, how do we do this? Or can we do this? And will you let us do this? Why can we not just make some decisions for ourselves? Why can't we bring the community together? If the Fraser Basin Council is going to do something, I'd like to see them do it now, not 8 months down the road when we're looking at another winter coming at us.
I believe their contract will be signed in the next few days.
It's still not signed.
No. But there's, you know, the Fraser Basin contract issue came to us. We were made aware of it on the 14th of December.
I know, and that's what's driving me crazy. Why weren't we told about this a long time ago? Why wasn't this addressed in September? If there was going to be any sort of contract changes, why wasn't it included? Like, I get it that this is people's jobs, it's not their lives, but it is our lives. We are the ones being directly affected by this. Everybody else involved in this can go home to their 9 to 5. We can't. We need to change this. We need to change how we're being affected by this and how we're letting it affect people. We have to take a stand with the province and tell them we want to move forward and we have to get things done. And if you can't meet a timeline, then just give us the money and we'll do it ourselves. I'm not here to protect the province. I'm here to help the people of Lytton. And I'm seeing more and more that we are making sure that the province is okay on everything, rather than making sure that the people of Lytton who have been displaced are okay.
Thank you. Would you like to make the motion to direct staff to look into it?
Yeah, Councillor Hay, I'll make a motion that staff investigate getting those people in, seeing what the costs are, how much logistics are involved, getting our people together, etc., and bring back a report to council in February's meeting. That gives them a month. Should be enough time.
I'll second.
It's already done by the mayor.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are on to reports from committees of council and commissions. The Citizens Advisory Committee.
Good evening, Mayor, Councillor, staff, guests attending via Zoom. This report is going to cover 2 Citizens Advisory Select Committee meetings. First one from the 15th of December, 2021, and the second one from the 5th of January, 2022. please allow me the time to provide some background before I get into the actual reporting phase of the 15th of December 2021 meeting. Council struck a Citizens Advisory Select Committee to seek ideas, recommendations, and thoughts from the residents of the village of Lytton to see what they wanted achieved during the recovery and rebuild of the village of Lytton. Former Councillor Leach was appointed as the chairperson of the committee and went about selecting members who had good connections to the village of Lytton before the wildfire struck. Former Councillor Leach was somewhat limited in his choosing process, as the committee had been limited to 10 members. But he meticulously went about what I consider was a fair process. As most of you who know me know, I like to poke fun at people. So here goes the one to Robert. By the time he was done with the selection process, the committee numbered 11 members. And I guess being a good banker, I probably should be checking my account at the bank. He definitely forgot to count himself as one of them. Hence, when one of the members found they had more pressing personal commitments and knew they could not dedicate the needed time and energy, they stepped down. And there were 10, then there were 10, and that is where we stand now. I would like to take a couple of minutes of your time to explain how a council committee functions and by what rules and regulations it is governed. First and foremost is the community charter, which now states, section 128(2), if authorized by a procedural bylaw and the requirements of subsection 2 are met, council committee meetings may be conducted by means of electronic or other communication facilities. The following rules in relation to a council committee meeting referred to in section 1. A, the meeting must be conducted in accordance with the applicable procedure bylaw. B, in the procedural bylaw, a council must provide for advanced public notice of the way in which the meeting is to be conducted by means of electronic or other communication facilities and establish the procedure for giving that notice. C, the facilities must enable the meeting's participants to hear or watch and hear a meeting. D, except for any part of the meeting that is closed to the public, the facilities must enable the public to hear or watch and hear the meeting. Part 3, members of a council committee who are participating in a meeting conducted in accordance with this section are deemed to be present at the meeting. 4, members of council or a council committee who are participating under this section in the meeting conducted in accordance section are deemed, sorry, I've just repeated myself. I do apologize. Pretty straightforward. Now, the community charter has provided for municipalities to produce a procedure bylaw. Excuse me, I stand corrected. As a community charter makes sure all municipalities must have a procedure bylaw. The Village of Lytton bylaw is bylaw 692-217 and can be found, as Madam Recovery Manager found for me, under the bylaws on our website. This bylaw is currently in effect and is being used by the Village of Lytton. First important part, committee. It's a definition, means a standing committee established by the mayor pursuant to section 141 of the community charter. A select committee established by council pursuant to section 142 of the community charter, or other committee of council, but does not include committee of the whole. The next one, presiding member, means a council member designated as chair of that meeting. They're playing me back on the recording. Oh, it's gonna run out.
My apologies, folks. I'm not sure what happened there.
So I'm gonna carry on. Hopefully, it gets through clear. In our bylaw. Can we take a break for a minute?
We'll take a 2-minute break to fix this problem.
Just one moment, folks.